Welcome one and welcome all. We are sponsored today by Alamode.com. Alamode is your appraisal software, or at least it should be. If it's not currently, you need to jump on board, folks, with Alamode. Alamode is something I've been using for 20 years, and you need to as well. Go to alamode.com/free trial. We're also sponsored by DataMaster. Just go to datamasterfreetrial.com/coach for your full 14-day free trial. Once again, that's datamasterfreetrial.com/coach. And finally, we are sponsored by Working RE Magazine. If you know Working RE, as far as the print version, have you tried out the online version? You can find them, folks, at workingre.com. Now, today, folks, I want to focus on something that is on my mind very heavily right now. I just got off the phone just about an hour ago with one of my dream team members, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because she wants this situation to obviously remain confidential. But let's just say that she is in a challenging life situation. Her life currently, and I'll just go so far as to say health-wise, is changing dramatically right now. And she has to look at the real possibility of things changing for her physically, and really for her, a possibility of things changing dramatically as far as her life circumstance goes. And we had a nice long talk, and I love my dream team members. They have direct access to me, and we're able to have some really good conversations. And I just love this gal to death. She's just a wonderful, wonderful person. But man, she's in a tough situation. As a mentor, as a coach, I can only do so much. I can't change the situation. I can certainly sympathize. I've never been through what she's going through, so I can't empathize. But I can do my best to reach out and give her, not just strength as far as encouragement goes, but also be able to give her some ideas and some thoughts that would be, helpful to her long term. It got me thinking, and I decided I wanted to go ahead and do a podcast today that would be helpful to people in whatever circumstance you're in. Now, from what I'm told, and I haven't been able to confirm these numbers, though I've repeated them often, I have been told that currently the average appraiser's age is about 60 years old. 60, 62 is what I've heard. That's about the time in life when you start to think about, if you haven't already, some health issues that are going to be happening. Even with as great as the medical field is today, and the advances in medical technology and knowledge and everything else, folks, life expectancy is still under 80. I don't know what the exact numbers are right now, but it's not 80 for either male or female. When you think about it, if the average appraiser age is 60, and, I don't have any hard numbers on this. This is totally anecdotal, but I can tell you my experience with appraisers has been that we live a pretty stressful lifestyle, and it's hard on our bodies and it's hard on our minds, and all of that mixes together, that I would guess that our, life expectancy might be lower than the average. Again, I don't know. Don't sue me if I'm wrong, but I can tell you that my experience has been, I've seen some people, some appraisers that were just, they literally work themselves to death. And, it's got me to where I'm hitting the gym. Those of you who are on the Coach Cam, hi, everybody. This is our second episode with the Coach Cam. It's a new experience for me. I'm trying to look into the camera so that it doesn't look weird that I'm looking out, but honestly, it's kind of weird to me so far. I'm not used to being on camera. So, but I've been going to the gym. There's not much change, actually. I'm going to the gym. It's making me feel good, but I still eat horribly. I'm working on it. But the bottom line here, and what I'm getting at, folks, is that we work very hard. Most of us are not just appraisers. We're also appraiser business owners, and there's stress on both sides of the aisle. And when you combine those things together with, sometimes our lifestyle isn't the best. We're very sedimentary. We sit in chairs for a long period of time. We a lot of times go out to eat because we're out doing inspections. At least I can speak for myself, and I know a lot of appraisers the same way. Well, we're just not real careful about what we eat, and getting up and moving, and getting to the gym can be hard, especially when things are busy. And so let's just let's just say it bluntly. We're not going to live forever, folks. And so I wanted to dedicate a show today about what we can be doing to set ourselves up to be in the best possible circumstance for whatever might come our way. Now, we're going to basically take this in 2 chunks. The first part of this show is I want to talk about structure of the business and talk about how to structure your business in such a way that you are not indisposable. Now, I know that sounds bad because most people want to feel like they're, the most important thing since sliced bread, and that, life just can't go on without them. But if you're talking about your business, you want to be able to go on vacation, go on maternity leave, be sick for an extended period of time, take some time off. Hell, I mean, what does that even mean? What does that look like? We want to be able to do that and not have our businesses fall apart. Remember, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, but I'm just going to touch on this. Those of you who've taken my Go Create Some Value workshop, you know my story. And I've told my story about how I was studying the Founding Fathers and the fact that they could take 3 months off to go to Philly and sit in that hot hall for 3 months and write the Constitution and then go back to their businesses and not have it fall apart. They went back and their businesses were still thriving. Man, that was an inspiration to me. And I thought, I want to set up my business in such a way that I can be gone and come back and things have not fallen to crap. And that's really what put me on the path to the success that I now have experienced as an appraiser, finding the principles of prosperity and the laws of finance that allow me to be able to set up my business in such a way that I now feel comfortable being gone and not feeling like I have to shut things down. I still am coaching and mentoring so many appraisers who are dealing with the problem of not really owning their own life. And it's sad. And to an extent, I'm not either. I still have to be here. I can't go play golf and watch movies all day long and expect to still make money. But can I take some time off? Absolutely. Could I take a month off? Absolutely. Could I take 3 months off? I think I could. Things would change quite a bit, and I would have to, do some tweaking. But are you in a position where you can be absent and your business still run itself? My guess is the answer is probably no, or if it's yes, it's for a very short period of time. Let me give you a few things to think through. And then after the break, after we talk about the sponsors, I want to come back and talk about some financial benefits, if you will, that you need to be putting into place that will be there in case you're not, or that will be there when you retire. And I can't wait to talk about those things because I think as appraisers, we sometimes don't think down the road. We're thinking about this assignment and then the next assignment and then the next assignment. And sometimes we forget that those assignments eventually are going to end for us, whether it be our health or whether it just be retirement. We need to be prepared for what's coming at us down the road. And I think that there is a way to do that and a way to be very successful in that process if we set it up correctly. So let's talk first about our business structure. What does your business structure look like? Are you a single solo appraiser? If you are, some of the things I'm going to say in the next few minutes will not be very beneficial to you unless you are willing to maybe break out of that box a little bit and start to consider setting up a different type of a structure. Now, not everybody needs to have the structure that I have. I get that. I understand that, obviously. I do what's best for Dustin Harris in my business. As I first started consulting, I was very naive in that I had a pretty good thing going, and I thought, I love to teach. I've got a lot of success here as an appraiser. Why not teach? So combine my love for teaching with appraising, teach appraisers how to be better business owners. And I've been able to do that over the last 5-6 years, but it's not in the way that I thought it would be. I truly thought, folks, don't laugh, I truly thought that I would be able to package up what I was doing and export it to every appraiser out there and say, look, here's how you do it. You put A into place and B into place and C into place. Once those are going, then you can move on to D, E, and F, and all the way down to Z. And I could walk away and I could rub my hands together and go, gee, what a good guy am I? I'm sure a great coach, right? Look at all the good things I did for this person. Well, I learned very quickly that there's this human element that I forgot to factor in, that appraisers are not robots, and their businesses don't run like assembly lines, and they have their ways of doing things and their opinions about things. And over the years, I have thankfully learned to integrate good principles, into individual opinions and how they want to run their business. Why do I bring all that up? Well, what I'm saying is there's ways of doing things that will work for you, and there's ways of doing things that work for me, and sometimes those paths cross, but a lot of times they don't. And so I'm going to share with you some of the things that I just want you to think about. I'm just going to speak from a 5,000-foot level here, instead of getting into the trees and maybe the specifics. I mean, I might give you a few anecdotal thoughts to mull around to help you to formulate what I'm talking about. But for the most part, these are just going to be high-level, principle-based things, okay? The first is the law of delegation. The first is the ability to be able to off-shoulder some of the stuff that you are doing to someone else. Now, that may look very different to you than it looks to me. I off-shoulder everything that I possibly can. My philosophy when it comes to delegation is that I look at how much I make per hour, and then I ask myself, can these tasks be done efficiently and with quality? I'm never going to cut quality, but can I off-shoulder them or delegate them to someone else? And as I do so, can I pay them less per hour than I make per hour, which then frees me up to be able to do more of what I love and what I'm good at and what I'm needed for on the other side of things, so that I'm able to accomplish everything that needs to be accomplished and focus on being an appraiser and not on being a receptionist or a data entry person, or these many roles that we can put others into that will be more beneficial to us. Okay? Now, I just want to take that one step further today. So going back to the story that I introed with today, this member of my all-star team, which I love and which I'm hurting for right now because she's going through a really tough challenge. I have to ask every appraiser out there, what are we doing right now to set ourselves up in such a way that we can be absent at least for a period of time? And then take it one step further and say, what could we be doing right now to set ourselves up so that we can be absent from our businesses long term? That we can then become the business owner and not the business manager, or not the technician, the appraiser within the business. Are there things that you could and should be doing right now to set that up? My own mentor, my father, had to take an early retirement for health reasons. And he went from being a very busy person to having some real challenges getting out and doing what he needed to do in a very quick period of time. And that was hard on him emotionally, I think, definitely hard on him physically. But the honest truth is he basically went from running a business to not running a business overnight. When he retired, he no longer had his business. It wasn't there anymore. And I guess I would ask the question, is there a different way? Is there another way that we might be able to look at our businesses and say, when we retire, when that day comes, and it will come, whether it be a forced retirement or a chosen retirement, when that day comes, are we ready and prepared to sit on the sideline and maybe still make money from our business? Maybe that business continues. Maybe appraisals are still getting done, but it's not done by you. Have you considered a partner? Have you considered an employee? Have you considered an independent contractor? Have you considered hiring another appraiser? Either training them up from ground zero through the trainee process, or simply taking somebody who is a certified residential or certified general or even a licensed residential and immediately getting into place a situation where they're able to do what needs to be done, and set them up financially so that it is a benefit to both you and them. So that if you need to be gone for an extended period of time, let's say a year, let's say 2 years, let's say the rest of your life, Can you set it up in such a way that they can be doing the physical work, the inspections, the write-ups, the what have you? Can you set up your business in such a way that that can still happen and you still be getting a cut because you're the one that brought the book of business. You're the one that built the business in the first place. These are the kind of things that I want you to think through. You know that I am not opposed, in fact, do desktop valuations on a regular basis. Many of these companies allow subcontracting. And so you're able to take on desktop work and subcontract to others who are very involved and very well trained and managed. And now it's still my name that goes on these, and so I need to make sure that they're done and done right. But do I have to do all the nitty gritty of getting through the process? No, and neither do you. And so that's something I need you to think through as well. Are there other aspects of the appraisal process that you might feel comfortable with that wouldn't require the physical, day-to-day, inside and out work that is involved in being an appraiser? There's a situation where, as I look back, my dad's situation, and desktop valuations were not very big back when he retired. It was several years ago, upwards of 7 to 10 years ago at this point. I'm not even sure exactly where it falls in there, but it's at least 7, probably less than 10. Desktop valuations were not really a big deal back then, and but they are now. And so, maybe that's something to think about. When my dad was no longer able to physically get out and do inspections, he could still sit at a desk. Now, he can't even do that at this point, unfortunately. But there was a time period that he could have continued to work doing desktop valuations if he had set up his business in such a way that it would cater to that kind of a situation. So the first thought I just want to put in your head before we go to a sponsor is to think through how your business is structured. What are you delegating? What are you doing yourself? Those things that you are doing yourself, ask yourself the question, can you and should you? Those are two different questions. Can you and should you delegate even those to someone else, or at least have the ability to delegate those to someone else? I do know an appraiser who is now retired, who is getting a percentage of his business by doing basically nothing. I mean, he's the owner, so he's involved, okay? But day to day, you eventually, you see him on the golf course and you see him, out visiting his family and different things, vacationing and seeing the world. And yet he's still getting paid to be an appraiser. Now, it's nowhere near what he was getting paid as an appraiser, but he set up his business in such a way that now he is still the owner of the business, but he is not the one physically out there doing inspections and or write-ups. And yet he still gets a percentage of everything that's done in his appraisal business. Something to think through, folks. What does your business look like? What is your structure currently? And where do you need to be if you want to feel more comfortable about what may or may not happen? Folks, let's face it. Tomorrow you could be incapacitated. Tomorrow you could be diagnosed with some terminal disease that will completely flip your life upside down. And many of you have already experienced that, so you know what I'm talking about. Or you've had a loved one go through that. And the heart-wrenching thing that it is to see somebody who is one day very, very active and the next day not. It's a tough thing to go through, but it is a thing that we can get through, especially if we start to set up things right now to prepare for that. So I want to pause and talk about our sponsors, but when I come back, I want to talk about how you do that financially for both retirement and or disability and or death. And I'm just going to give you a few tools to think through and ask yourself if you have these things set up currently in your appraisal office. Speaking of your appraisal office, what are you using for software right now, folks? I can tell you what I'm using. It's the software I've been using for over 20 years. It's called Alamode. You can find them at alamode.com/free trial. And right now you can try Alamode for 15 days. Now, you've heard of Alamode. You know that they are the leader in the appraisal software business. Why? Well, because of all of the tools that they give appraisers. What are those tools? Well, how about you find out? For 15 days, you can try Alamode and check them out and find out what the big hubbub is all about. You go to alamode.com/free trial, and then once you have tried your 15 days and you have then decided to stay with Alamode, which you will because it is that good, you will want to jump on their 10-year price guarantee, which is currently still running at $349 per year. Now, folks, my average appraisal fee is over $400 right now. That's one appraisal. One appraisal, okay? for the less than the cost of one appraisal, less than the fee that I get paid of one appraisal, I can pay for Alamode for the entire year for the next 10 years. Once again, it's alamode.com/free trial, alamode.com/free trial. I just got off the phone about 15 minutes ago. Well, I guess we've been running now for 20 minutes, but honestly, 30 seconds before I started this podcast, I was on the phone with DataMaster. I love those guys at DataMaster. They're fun to talk to. It's a small company, which is good. That bodes well for you, the customer, because when you call, you can talk to a real person. They are really, really good at reaching out and talking through things. Let me tell you what Mitch told me on the phone. Mitch said to me, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but he basically says, Dustin, we value our customers and we value you as a customer, not just as somebody that we sponsor your podcast, but we value you as a boots on the ground appraiser, and we want to know what's working and what's not. So would you be willing to, try some things? And so I have an opportunity to talk with them in a week or so about some of the things that DataMaster is doing and get some feedback from them about, what's going to work and what's not going to work, or what is working and what's not. That's the kind of company that DataMaster is. Folks, DataMaster will save you 30 to 60 minutes per report. If you've not checked them out, do so now. DataMasterFreeTrial.com/coach. Once again, that's DataMasterFreeTrial.com, and then you do the /coach for a full 14-day free trial. Just got off Working RE Magazine's website. Why? Because I get their emails. They send them out a couple times a week, and I love what they have to offer. I was just in my email just a few minutes ago, and Working RE sent an email out about a new technology that is being used. I'm not going to say what it was because I don't want to date this podcast because it takes a couple of weeks to get this thing. Oh, I'll just tell you. It was on drones. So if you go back and look at when that came up, there's an article there on drones. And I thought, no, it's really super interesting. And I love this about Working RE because they're always on the cutting edge of what's going on the appraisal industry, whether it be drones, whether it be UAD, whether it be changes for FHA, whether it be, are we really in a shortage here as far as things go? Working RE is where it's at if you want to learn more about what's going on in the world. So workingre.com, that's as if you're typing working real estate, but you just abbreviate the RE, workingre.com if you want more information. All right, folks, we are back, and we are talking today about preparations, specifically about how do you prepare for the inevitable, for the unknown, for things that may be occurring. Now, there's certain things that we absolutely know will occur in our lifetimes. Ready? You are going to die. Bum, bum, bum. You probably will retire. That's not a for certain because some people just don't. But wouldn't it be nice to plan for that? Wouldn't it be nice to think that, I can retire at some point? And my guess is at some point you're going to be incapacitated, whether it be for a short period of time or a long period of time. Our health, these bodies, these machines that, these meat sacks, as my mentor tells me quite often. And he says, we're just a bunch of meat sacks walking around. I laugh every time he says that. But the bottom line is, folks, we are blood and guts and bones and flesh, and things break. My old heart's been ticking for 42 years now. I hope it'll continue to tick for at least 42 more, maybe more than that. But the bottom line is we have to get ready to be prepared to do whatever it takes for things that are coming our way. So the three things that I want to chat with you a little bit about is retirement, disability, both short and long term, and also want to talk about death and are you prepared for death? Let's save death for a minute. We'll end on a good note, right? But I want to talk a little bit let's talk about retirement first of all. Folks, as a self-employed individual, now some of you I know are staff appraisers, and so this, may look a little bit different to you than it does to me. But mostly this podcast is for appraiser business owners. I'm helping you to structure your business in such a way that you can, get the most benefit out of what you have going on. So a couple things to look at, folks. First of all, do you have a financial advisor? I'm going to surprise you by this. Maybe you already know this, but most financial advisors don't charge per hour. Okay, they make money per hour, but they don't actually charge you to go in and talk to them. Why? Because they sell you products that they get commission on. Okay, so you need to go into that knowing that there might be a bias there. But hopefully you can get lucky and get the kind of advisor that I have who will give me advice regardless of whether or not it makes him money. Okay. And I like that about him. He'll sometimes say, well, Dustin, I'll tell you what, if I was a real schmuck, I would tell you to do this because here's the commission I get. And he's very transparent about his commission. But honestly, your situation would be better with, door number 2. And I get no commission off of that, but trust me, that's probably better for you. That's the kind of guy he is, and hopefully you'll get a financial advisor like that. I would encourage you to get a financial advisor. Why? Because they're not going to cost you any money unless you choose to buy their products, okay, or at least buy the products that they promote, and thus they're signed on as the seller, and thus they get commission. I have no problem with that, folks. That's how they make their living. As long as they're giving me good advice, I don't have any problem with the commission side of things. But you might want to seek out a good financial advisor, sit down with them, talk to them about your situation, talk to them about your age and your goals and your plans and where you want to be with things. A lot of the things that I have done in my business and in my personal life have been because my financial advisor is that good and has helped me to get to the point that I'm at. So a couple products, or not products, but the vehicles, financial vehicles that I'm going to throw out there for you to consider. If you're not already, what about an IRA? What about a Roth IRA? Now, they are different. Don't ask me the difference. One of them gets taxed up front and one of them gets taxed when you take it out, and I can't remember which one does which. And if I say it, I'm going to get it wrong. But I actually have one of each. I want to save on the taxes going in some circumstances, and I want to save on the taxes going out in other circumstances. So I have, and I commit to those about an equal amount each month to both my IRA and my Roth IRA. Now, the growth on those is not huge. Last time I checked, I think we were around 6% or something like that. It's not huge, but it's something. It's better than a bank account, folks. It's better than sitting it under your mattress, and it's certainly better than going to Vegas and blowing it on the craps table. So think through that. Do you have a retirement plan? What about a Keogh? A Keogh is basically a 401k for self-employed individuals. Do you have one? Have you set it up? There's other things that you need to look at as far as vehicles that you can start putting away and doing some matching funds through if you're set up as a corporation. Those kind of things will be very beneficial to you long term as well. That give you some tax write-offs and different things. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I should have led with that disclaimer. I hope you got that when I said I had a financial advisor or have one. But you do need to think through some of these things as far as retirement goes. Are you ready for retirement? Now, again, the first part of the show, we talked about retirement as far as, your business continuing and you still getting paid for that continued business. But let's say 65, you want to fold up shop, you want to hit the golf course, you want to hit an RV and go visit the kids, and you no longer want to run an appraisal business. Do you have financial means to be able to do that? Now is the time to be thinking of that, folks, not when you're 62, not when it's time to get ready for retirement. You remember the whole theory of compound interest. It's not even a theory, it's a law of compound interest. If you want to blow your mind, YouTube compound interest and just, watch a few of those videos as to what happens when you commit $100 at 25 versus $1,000 at 55 and see what the difference is there. So just something to think through. IRA, Roth IRA, Keogh. Now let's talk about disability. Not something we've hit a lot on this podcast. I've brought it up in my newsletter, the All-Star Team newsletter, the playbook, they call it, the coach's playbook. We've talked about disability. You may want to consider disability. Now, in general, long-term disability is going to be much less expensive than short-term disability. Here's why. Short-term disability basically says, hey, if you get hurt today, then tomorrow you can start, recouping your loss. The problem with that is the actuary tables basically show that your chances of getting hurt short-term are much, much higher than you getting hurt long-term. And so they have to charge a much higher premium to cover those types of things. You break your leg and you can't go out on inspections yesterday. You want to recoup those losses. That's what short-term disability will do for you, but you're going to pay out the nose for it. It's going to be very expensive for you. Okay. So I would not encourage a short-term disability plan. What I would encourage instead is that you put aside 3 months worth of your income. Now, for some of you are thinking, seriously, Dustin? You're doing the math right now, right? And you're saying, yeah, right. I'm going to put that much away. Folks, I'm serious. You need to get to the point that if something happened today, that you could go 3 months without a job and still live the same lifestyle that you're living right now. Now, you wouldn't want to live that lifestyle because you have no idea how long that disability or other circumstance is going to take you. You're going to curtail, you're going to cut back, and you're going to make that 3 months last into 6 months or 9 months or a year. But if you have 3 months of your income right now somewhere that you can get to it fairly quickly, you're going to be sitting much, much prettier. And I think you're going to do much, much better than trying to do a short-term disability plan through insurance. Okay, so I'm not a big fan of short-term disability. I am a huge advocate of long-term disability. Now, again, I want a disclaimer here. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Those of you who know more about this, I should have had my financial advisor on. That's really, maybe we'll do that in a future thing because, he is super knowledgeable. I'm just talking out of my left ear here. So, you can disregard a lot of what I'm saying, but I think I kind of understand how this works. And that is long-term disability basically will replace a percentage of your up to 100% of your current income. Now, on a regular basis, I think on a yearly basis, I have to fill out a form and send it into my long-term disability company, my insurance company, to tell them how much I'm making. So they can see how much I'm making, so they know what they're going to need to replace, and they'll be able to adjust their premium accordingly. Now, I actually pay a lot of money for long-term disability every month, but I also have 2 long-term disability programs. So I've got a long-term disability program that is a replacement, 100% replacement for my current income. I also have another long-term disability program that I think replaces 75%. Now, some of you are going to say, well, that's double dipping, Dustin. And I'm like, yeah, it is. And it's totally legal and totally ethical. I'm paying for 2 disability programs. If I get disabled, I actually make more money than if I were working. Now, some of you are going to say, well, geez, why don't you just go throw yourself off a building? And trust me, folks, the thought has crossed my mind. It's crossed my wife's mind more often than it's crossed my mind. But no, in all seriousness, there's obviously the aversion. Nobody wants to be sick. Nobody wants to be hurt. So that aversion keeps you away, which I think is why the companies are able to double up on these things, because you're not going to be faking this. But the other thing to look at with long-term disability is whether or not it allows you to work in other things. So, for example, if I can't work as an appraiser, can I still from a hospital bed coach and still get paid to coach or mentor my clients? And the answer is yes on, I think, both of my disability programs, but maybe just one. So in other words, if I get disabled, but I'm still able to work, not as an appraiser, but as a writer, as a consultant, as a name your extra income. I don't know. But can you accept that income and accept the disability? I would look for a program like that because here's the thing about insurance. I'm a big advocate of insurance. I'm huge. Even if I never use it, the peace of mind that it buys me is well worth the premium every single month. And I mean that with my life insurance. I mean that with my disability insurance, my health insurance, my home insurance, my flood insurance, all of this stuff. I'm a big advocate. My insurance agents love me because I love them. I love their products. And I'm willing to pay for that peace of mind. When something happens, I want to be covered. And the same is true when it comes to my health. And it should be true with you as well. Of those clients that I currently am mentoring, I can tell you that absolutely 0 of them, that may not be true. Let me think through that. If I'm just talking about people that I'm mentoring personally, I can say 0 of them have long-term disability right now. Now, some of those are changing that because of my advocacy. But of the Dream Team members that I coach on a regular basis, I know there's a couple of them that have long-term disability. I don't think that very many of them do. Okay? So my guess is that most people who are listening to this podcast are thinking to themselves, I don't have disability. I can't afford disability. My point, folks, is I don't think you can afford not to have disability. It's something that you really need to look at because when that day comes, and it probably will, car wreck, cancer, you name the thing. If you can't work any longer because of your health, you're going to want to have that income replaced somehow. And disability insurance is a great way to do that. Okay. Finally, let's talk about death. Let's talk about death, baby. Yeah, that was good lead in, right? Here's the thing, folks. We're all going to die. We know that for a fact. Life insurance to me is a no-brainer. I can't imagine leaving my wife and kids without insurance. Now, my heart goes out to those of you who can't get insurance, and I know there's those of you out there because of prior conditions or what have you. But if you're healthy, do it and do it now. Now, the question is, Dustin, what about term versus whole? Okay, I know that you've heard bad things about whole life. I tell you, I love whole life. It all depends on how you set it up. And I know some of you are like, well, so no wonder you like your financial advisor so much, because he's not telling you all that there is to be told about life insurance, especially whole life insurance. Folks, trust me, I know a lot about whole life insurance. I went through a period of time for about a year before I got whole life insurance when I studied the crap out of it. And I wanted to know because I knew that it was a big scam and I knew other people that had been taken to the bank. So there's ways to get life insurance, whole life insurance, and there's ways to do it right and there's ways to do it wrong. Okay? Get a good financial advisor, please, before you get into whole life, because they truly can and do take advantage of you. Okay? My advisor does not. Now, the reason I like whole life is you get the benefit that you would get through term, but you also get the ability to set up an annuity, set up a fund that is non-taxed that you can do a lot of things with. Okay? A lot of things. A lot of these other financial vehicles really are silly when it comes to what you could do with whole life if you're creative and if you're wise about how you do it. Okay. Now, this isn't the show, and I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details. Don't call me and say, hey, Dustin, tell me how you do life insurance, because I don't know. Honestly, it's been so long since I studied this stuff that I know I set it up right in the beginning. Find a good financial advisor that is going to walk you through this process properly. But I'm telling you, folks, I am worth a whole lot more dead than I am alive. And I mean I'm worth about 4 times dead than I am alive. My wife is sitting pretty darn pretty when and I remind her of that quite often, when she gets worried about me and or when she dislikes me for a period of time. I just, remind her that, hey, hang in there, because I'm, when I'm dead, I'm worth a lot more than I am now. But folks, in all seriousness, consider life insurance, and not just for the death benefit. The other thing to consider is the long-term care benefit. I believe both of my life, I do have more than one life insurance program. I believe both of them, and I may have 3 now that I think about it, but let's just keep it to 2. Let's keep it to a term and a whole. Okay. Actually, now that I said that, I know for a fact I've got a term, whole, and whole. So I've got 2 wholes and 1 term. And why do I have that? Well, because they have different benefits and they're different vehicles financially for me to do different things. And one of the things that I've looked at, and I can't remember which of these, I think the 2 whole, maybe not the life, or the term rather, but both of the whole life insurance programs that I think have a long-term disability benefit. Meaning, if I get to be 85 years old and I'm in a nursing home, my kids are not going to have to be paying that bill. That can start coming out of my life insurance program, and the insurance company is going to start paying that bill. Okay, so that's something you definitely want to think about. I pay a little bit more for that benefit, but to me, again, it's worth it. I've seen too many people go through life circumstances that allow me to think, guess what, Dustin? Wake up. Things happen. You need to be prepared. Okay, so to recap, first part of the show, set up your business, structure your business in such a way that you can be gone completely or short term or long term, okay, and your business still run efficiently. Whatever that means to you, set it up right. Second half of the show, financial vehicles to allow you to be able to retire, to allow you to be able to be disabled and not lose your business, to be able to be dead and still have your loved ones taken care of. Folks, these are things that we as business owners need to think through. Please think through them. Don't leave yourself and others hanging when life happens to you. I hope it never does, but we all know it will at some period of time. So let's prepare now for the benefit down the road of when these things happen to us. Thank you for joining me, folks. I talked a little bit today about the Dream Team, and we do still have a couple of openings. We are in Chicago, Las Vegas, DC, and Salt Lake City. We would love to have you join us. And speaking of joining us, I'll catch you next time here on the Appraiser Coach Podcast.